Hey guys, it's Shane. I wanted to share with you my top 5 exercises that helped me overcome hip impingement issues. And I specifically wanted to create this video because I know that if you are someone who's having FAI related issues, hip impingement, hip pain, or you've been told you have FAI and you need surgery, you may have come across some of my videos, some of Matt Shue's videos, and you have some hope, but there might be an overwhelming amount of information about what to do. So I reflected a little bit about what for me was like the most critical exercises to kind of fix my hips, and here's what I came up with. I want to give you one principle about why these are the most important exercises. Basically what it is wherever a muscle attaches, the adductors for example, way up here and way down here, wherever a muscle attaches experiences the most stress, especially if you play a sport like hockey or soccer. But wherever a muscle attaches, here or up here for the quads or way up here for the hamstrings, wherever it attaches experiences the most stress, becomes the most dense in response to that, and therefore can cause the most restriction in your hips range of motion. So using some logic, if you can free up the tension that builds way high up here by the joint, if you can free up these deep knots, it will improve your hip range of motion more than, say, some of the knots down here by the knee, even though this is all the same muscle. So my top exercises are, which you can find in the FAI Fix product, or you can find on my YouTube channel. For the adductors, the lacrosse ball on a box in the fire hydrant position is my first one. My second one would be the adductor on the ground with a kettlebell right on this area. Same muscle, but it just gets at it a different way. Moving to the top of the joint, these quad attachment points, laying a barbell across your lap and sitting up tall and then scrubbing with the barbell is one great way. Just digging in there with your thumbs will let you know something's off in there compared to your unaffected hip side. But for the top attachment point on the quads, a barbell on top is really good. There's also another way of getting at it which I like even more, but it requires a specially made tool that I had someone weld for me, which hopefully will be for sale at some point in the future. But just know that this attachment point of the quads can really limit and restrict hip range of motion. So we've got the adductors, we've got the quads. For the glute and the deep hip rotators, I really have benefited from the jackknobber too, that tool on the glutes, which you'll find in the product. And what that does is if you roll like a softball or a lacrosse ball around here, it gets some good stuff, and it's usually pretty intense for people. But I've found that there's some deep trigger points that require a more pinpoint pressure sustained over time and patiently worked out at a very deep level. I think the quads and the adductors are the primary culprit and the glutes are secondary, but they still need to be freed up and normalized to have full, normal, healthy hip function. And then working all the way around, the hamstring attachment points are another really big limiter of hip flexion and other hip ranges of motion. So the basic principle that I want you to get is the attachment points closest to the hip at a deep level are the primary sources of your misery most likely. So getting at them with the right tool in the right way for the right length of time, and it is a chipping away process, it doesn't happen overnight, but these attachment points are what you want to think of going after. And I think you'll find that, like me, they will relieve most of your hip function or hip pain and give you back your hip function that's been missing for a long time. So go look at those exercises. I'll try to provide links for that and let me know how it goes. Hey guys, I wanted to show you a glute stretch variation that's kind of advanced. You got to be pretty flexible in your hips to get into this, but it's worth trying.